I consider myself, I'm just a boring white person, right? But I have a bunch of different, look, I have a bunch of different European nationalities, right? I can show you my 23andMe. So I'm British, I'm Irish, I'm German. I can celebrate all those, but it's just
No,
because I look
Charlie.
like a,
No, Charlie. You have to pick one and then stick
okay.
with that the rest of your life. That is clearly the world we live in now. And if you ever try to change it, you have been essentially living a lie your whole life. That's apparently the new rules.
Right, and I choose Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, and depending on how these soccer teams do, there's a lot of things about Germany you don't wanna really claim, let's be
Well,
honest.
yeah. As
But
a Messersmith, I can totally
right,
understand that.
but it's just funny because in the same way that I could so obviously say I am German and Irish and British, and you know what? Donald Trump is probably the same. I don't know exactly, but he's probably a mutt of European descent, but it's just funny when it's Indian and Jamaican or black, whatever you wanna call it, like, it's such this big deal because she's half Asian, which I know a lot of people, they don't really consider Indian Asian, but it is, but we can say Indian,
Yeah.
and her dad's Jamaican, so that's black, and it's just like, because she's these 2 different ethnicities, which really aren't
Yeah.
that different than being German and Irish, except for the way it impacts the color of your skin, it, like, makes his head implode, and I just
It
think
does.
it's the worst strategy, especially
It's
when
yeah.
you see that, like, 33% of the country now are biracial. It's just such an unforced error. It's so stupid.
Yeah, if you would have so right now, Harris is ahead in most of the polling averages. Not all, some outlets do it differently, but she has now moved ahead. And Nate Silver's forecast, she is now for the first time favored to win the election. Not by much. It's like 51, 49. It's a toss-up. The polls show it's a toss-up. The betting market show it's a toss-up. The election forecasting models show it's a toss-up. It was not a toss-up 3 weeks ago. It was not. Trump, before Biden got out, was a 2-1 roughly favorite in the betting
Mhm.
markets. He had a nice lead in the polling average. So why has it changed? Well, obviously, a big part of it is subbing out a candidate who wasn't up for this for a candidate who is, right? That's part. But the argument is, my argument is that is not all of it. It's not just that's the main reason, obviously, Harris in, Biden out, but it's also the response of Trump and the Republicans. They'd be doing better if they had responded better. And I mentioned Nate Silver earlier. I want to give him credit for this because he's a big poker player. You mentioned this. If you're not familiar with on tilt, that means essentially you're playing poker and you have a hand that you think you should win and you lose because you get a bad beat, they call it. Bad luck, right? A queen flops on the river, whatever. And you lose. And then instead of just playing smart, you start playing angry and you make dumb decisions. And Nate Silver's point was, I didn't think that Kamala Harris being in would cause Trump to go on tilt. And that is what has happened. Trump has gone on tilt. Now, look, there's a long time to go. As I mentioned, there is fertile ground to attack Harris, as there is for any politician. So he has plenty of time to course correct. But they need to course correct because the last 2 weeks have been really, really bad for the Trump campaign.